Good afternoon, and thank you everyone for joining us today for an afternoon of insightful, educational, and fun conversations. And thank you to the chairman for kicking us off. I really appreciated your remarks, um, and I have a few years on you, but still enjoyed a lot of the developments that we got from the 1996 Act. I also have really enjoyed working with you, and your support for the FCC has been excellent. So, the 96 Telecom Act represented an acknowledgement of the vast technological advancements that had taken place since 1934 and had transformed society. Congressional passage of the act and the subsequent FCC implementation was the last major effort by the federal government to construct a new regulatory framework for the technology, media, and telecom sectors to support competition for the benefit of consumers. At the time of its passage, telephone service was prevalent, but divided into local and long distance service with limited competition in the local sector, and telephone providers were prohibited from providing video services. Cable was an established technology and reached millions of households, but consumer options were limited. Therefore, one of the goals of the 96 Act was to open local telephone and cable services to competition. The Act also acknowledged that the internet was an emerging technology and it had the potential to profoundly transform the way we communicate in the future. Dial-up, believe it or not, was avant-garde, state-of-the-art connectivity at that time. A new era of wireless communications was also beginning to take shape. The FCC received spectrum auction authority 3 years before the Act passed. The Wireless Telecommunications Bureau was only a year old, and the fifth spectrum auction was underway and ultimately garnered a record-breaking $10 billion in winning bids. The Act also contributed significantly to improving the lives of people with disabilities. It required rules on closed captions on television, allowed the FCC to study audio description, and established requirements for telecommunications service providers and equipment manufacturers to ensure at the design and development stage that services and equipment are accessible to and usable by people with disabilities. These provisions led to innovations in texting, video, and hands-free communications that today benefit all consumers. And let's not forget the critical impact of the Act on codifying and expanding universal service. Universal service had long existed in the form of implicit subsidies, but the Act made the support explicit. The Act created the Universal Service Fund, which has been the cornerstone of activity for rural providers serving in high-cost areas, for schools and libraries and healthcare facilities being able to obtain critical connectivity, and for households that would otherwise have remained on the wrong side of the digital divide without the Lifeline program. 30 years later, the innovation that the Act ushered has surpassed what we imagined possible, and technological progress has once again reshaped communications. Cell phones are nearly ubiquitous globally. The internet has gone from a screeching, slow-moving innovation to a seamless, lightning-speed necessity in daily life. By now, the FCC has held over 100 spectrum auctions. There are myriad wireless devices embedded in our daily lives: appliances, laptops, security cameras, headphones, fitness trackers, augmented reality glasses, and even mugs to keep our coffee at the perfect temperature. And we now see accessibility as a foundational principle. For example, we enjoy automatic captioning in video platforms, and ASL interpreters are commonly present in video recordings, as they are with this one. The progress is simply astonishing. So I was a legal advisor in the Common Carrier Bureau, now known as the Wireline Competition Bureau, when Congress passed the 96 Act, and we were responsible for implementing a lot of it. It was an incredibly busy time. The entire FCC worked extraordinarily hard to implement Congress's directives, and I felt and feel extremely lucky to have been on the ground floor at a pivotal time for communications history. The Act gave us a pro-competitive framework that led to a lot of the evolution of technology that we have today. But of course, implementing the Act and supporting competition didn't come without challenges. Deadlines were short, staff needed to be sourced, and new concepts were in trial mode. We tried, we failed, we succeeded, we tried again, and we learned a lot. That is why I am delighted that we are gathered today to reminisce and talk about the lessons that we can discern from the creation and implementation of the historic Telecommunications Act of 1996. We brought together a group of brilliant communications and technology policy experts that lived through the creation and implementation of the 96 Act. We'll discuss the legislative process, the implementation, and lessons learned from 30 years ago that can be used to drive innovation and competition for the benefit of consumers today. So I hope you enjoy these conversations and find them inspiring. Thank you.